Hello everyone! I am Alice of KHR Arts and Cloud Orchid Publishing, and today we are going to talk about one of my art books, We the Fallen. So this is one of the art books that Bryan and I created together, and what these are is they are a combination of short stories and poetry written by me, along with a photo series of photography taken by Bryan. This was in the early days, so between 2010 and 2014, when we were actively doing a lot of photography work together. This particular one was a really risky, really cool project. So this particular photo set was taken very late at night on the Chicago Red Line. For those of y'all that don't know what that is, it is the elevated subway system in Chicago. So that train that goes both above ground and underground throughout the city. There are different lines: the red line, the pink line, the yellow line, the brown line, the green line, blah, blah, blah. There's all the different lines, and they go to all the different parts of the city. And the red line in particular is one of the few lines that runs 24/7. So it's one of the few lines that you can ride at, like, let's say 2 in the morning, like we did. And the reason why we needed it to be late at night was, one, we needed there to not be people on the train so that we didn't have a bunch of people in the background, especially because for those of y'all that aren't really familiar with doing photography out in public, people have this terrible habit of insisting on just being a bother. Whether it's they think that they're being really sly and they're going to just be in the background of the image, which it's like, we're just going to edit you out or delete the image. Like, we're not just going to have randos being weird in the background of images. Or worse, people who just want to harass us the entire time and just be a problem. And unfortunately, yes, these things happen a lot. And it makes the model uncomfortable. A lot of times I was the model. In this case, we had Z was the model. And it just overall makes it a crappy experience. So doing a photography project at 3 a.m. when no one else is on the train was highly ideal. As well as, I can't really show y'all pictures for this reason, because it's the other reason why we needed people to not be on the train, is because she had limited wardrobe on, let's say. So yeah, there was also a bit of the exhibitionist sort of thing going on with this, and that was the whole point. Is it was supposed to be subversive, it was supposed to be out there and all that jazz. And Z did an amazing job with these photos. Like, see if I can get this one for y'all. I don't want to get banned by YouTube. Oh, can't even get it. There we go. So, like, she did these amazing dynamic poses on the train, and that was half the fun of it, was also so that we didn't have people catching on and starting to follow us on the trains, because that's a thing too, is that when you pull up to the stops, and that's the thing too, is when you pull up to the stops, people will see you in the windows of the train and see what you're doing, and they'll be like, oh, that looks interesting, I'm going to get on that car of the train and be a problem. And so there were just a lot of factors. There was a lot to contend with. This was also before they put all of the cameras on the trains. We would have never been able to do this in the later years on the Red Line. And so we had a lot of fun doing this guerrilla style photography back in those days in locations like the Chicago Red Line and other various locations in downtown Chicago. I used to live in Chicago, and I do have plans to move back there. Of course, it's been years since I've done a photography project like this, and both me and Bryan don't have plans of doing these kind of photography projects anymore, just because of Bryan's infirm with battling his 3 different kinds of cancers, as well as I retired from modeling last year, and we've just moved on to other projects that we want to do. But we are very grateful for the photography projects that we did get to do and all of the cool adventures that came because of them. So I'm just trying to be careful with holding up this book so that I don't accidentally get a strike from YouTube with this book. With the pictures. But in addition to this photography set that we did that was very subversive and very cool, we also included some of my poetry. So it goes along through the book that there's picture, a poem, a couple of pictures, part of a poem, a picture, more of the poem. They're just kind of sprinkled throughout. And some of these poems do appear in other art books, in my poetry collections. A lot of my poetry got used more than once in our projects just because, for whatever reason, we would find a poem that we really felt was a good fit, and it didn't matter to us that we had already published it in a different book because it just fit the vibe. And since it's our company and it's my poetry, we can effectively do whatever we want with it. So this is one of the poems that appears in this particular art book. Ravens Dawn. Where have all the ravens gone? Feathers lie, collecting dust. Their minds perceive so eloquently the burdens and tragedies we face. Never a creature so fine, never a creature so fine as one who dabbles in death and mourning. An evening at the gravesite, preening on a crumbling tombstone. No more ravens, nor more to fly. We are left with bothersome colors in our empty sky. No more black, no more gloom, obnoxious screeches and shrieks. How I long for the sorrowful tune. Gone is the twilight of swallowed stars, moonlight hidden. Darkness sliding under the proud raven wing. Gloss and gleam of feathered eyes. Farewell, pretty bird, the hour is dawn. So this particular book was published in 2013. Bryan and I had so much fun putting it together. We followed one of the strategies that we did for several other art books where Bryan would put together the series of photos so that the photography would tell the story that he wanted, and then I kind of sandwiched in between my poetry and put it together so that it flowed along with the photos. So it was kind of like this narrative that just kind of like comes together as one piece. I highly recommend this. It's a really fun read. The photos are so dynamic and we had so much fun doing them. So I hope y'all enjoyed this video. If you did, please be sure to give it a like. And if you're new, subscribe. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.